And it looks like we're live.
Nice.
Awesome. Woo! All right, so welcome back, everyone. This is our second episode of Open Sourcery. Just as a reminder, we're doing this as a 4-episode series, so we're doing these once a month, and we'll kind of evaluate at the end if we want to extend this into something else. And just as a reminder, this all started off as just an internal show and tell that VGV would normally do, and we just decided why not stream it and kind of try to get some engagement from the community. And as you can see, we have some guests this time. So we have Salih and Abdallah from AWS Amplify. So do you all want to go and quickly introduce yourselves?
Yeah, Abdallah, go, because you are the coolest person.
Oh, wow. We're starting off being nice to each other. I really like it. All right. So my name's Abdallah. I'm a product manager on Amplify Flutter. I've been with AWS now for about a year, a little bit over a year. It's been a lot of fun getting to finally be working on something with Flutter a lot closely and professionally.
Mm-hmm.
This is my first actual Flutter job, so I'm really excited about that. And yeah, super excited to show you all what we've been working on. And I'm going to pass it over
Awesome.
to you, Salih.
Yeah, hello everyone. I'm Salih. I have been doing Flutter apps for like a lot of time, like 5 years or something. I work with Abdallah. I'm a developer advocate at the AWS Amplify team. I'm also a Flutter GD, which is really important. But more importantly, I'm Jochum's best friend. So in case you want to shout out, you can use that title for me. And yeah, like I've been with AWS for over 8 months now. And yeah, it has been a crazy journey. I'm really looking forward to talk to you all about what we have worked on and what you can do. And I also did some tiny bit of hacking, so hopefully it will work out. We can show it later.
We love hacking.
Yeah.
Awesome. Should we can all just do intros quickly. Jochum, Renan, you want to just give an intro for anyone who doesn't already know you?
Yeah, of course, we can give an intro. Renan, you want to go first? You're the cool one here. And you're also muted, by the way.
This time you're actually on mute.
Nice, really great start. Off to a great start. We are all being really nice today here. I don't know what's going on here. Best friends, you can go first. Okay. So my name is Renan, obviously, and I also work with Mr. Felix and Jochum here on the open source team for Very Good Ventures. And yeah, Felix said everything about this meeting, kind of streaming, kind of podcast. I don't know what this is yet. And yeah,
we're figuring it out.
Yeah,
show and tell.
Awesome. I really like Mr. Felix. From watching the last video to this one, I really think Salih and I have made you all a lot nicer. Yeah. I think this is our influence.
This is definitely the most polite.
Backhanded compliment.
Mr. Jochum.
I'm Jochum. I also work at VGV, in case you didn't know, as an open source engineer. I'm part of this group of people that apparently do really interesting meetings that we decided to live stream. So that's why I'm here. I just learned that I am Salih's best friend, which is awesome.
Yeah, I just learned that as well.
Yeah, because Twitter completely says something different whenever he tweets related to me. But apart from that, no. So yeah, I mean, it's really awesome to have people from AWS here. Really curious what they will have for us on the open sourcery this time.
Mm-hmm. And then I'm Felix, also an engineer on the OSS and tooling team. Yeah, I'm also super excited to have Salih and Abdallah. And yeah, why don't we just get started and see what you all want to demo today? Hand it off to you.
Yeah, I was about to just jump in. I forgot that Felix didn't do an intro.
It's okay.
I was like, yeah, you know, it's Felix.
It's okay. I'll just
everyone knows. Okay, so like today I have 2 demos for you. One of them is already out there as an open source project. I will share it later on. I like to keep things a bit on the edge, so just stay tuned. And before we go through, I would like to make an intro about what we actually not. I'm not going to do it. I think Abdallah is a better version of me to do that. So, Abdallah, can you tell us about AWS Amplify, what it is, and what we are working on? because one thing that I would like to say before you start, though, like it's really important to know, since this is open sourcery, what we work on is also an open source project. So go ahead. Stage is yours.
Yeah, absolutely.
I
So
allow you.
let's thank you, Your Highness. So let's maybe start with that. So Amplify is an open source framework that allows web, mobile, and in the case of Flutter, cross-platform developers build full stack applications on AWS. So we provide you with tooling that allows you to be able to set up the infrastructure that you need for your application to enable use cases like authentication or APIs, either through GraphQL or REST APIs, and then storage with S3, for example, and then analytics. And we also provide you with front-facing client libraries. And in terms of what we're working on right now, in the Flutter space, we currently have an implementation for Amplify Flutter that has been live since 2021 that was built on top of method channels for our existing implementations for Amplify iOS and Android. And after talking a lot to the community, and of course, after seeing Flutter as a platform grow where it is now, we're really started to see a lot more interest towards developers that want to build for web and desktop. So we've actually made the decision internally to rewrite our libraries completely in Dart. And we're getting really, really close to launching these libraries. We now have a developer preview out, so you can actually try out our libraries for
That's
authentication, API, thank you, API, GraphQL, REST, storage, and analytics. You can try those out right now. And we're super excited to get this to the finish line and get this in the hands of developers. And that's been our primary focus.
Nice.
Awesome.
That's super cool. So wait, one quick question before we continue. For those who are watching and maybe want to try the pure Dart versions of these packages, are they just published on pub.dev as pre-releases? Is that how people can get started?
Yes, that's correct.
Awesome.
Yeah, and we'll paste the link as well to our documentation that you can actually go and follow to start setting up your project. We provide you with details on how to install the developer preview versions in addition to the platform setup that you would need if you want to enable web and desktop additionally.
Amazing.
Yeah, I mean, the libraries that we support are the parts that you can use to build your applications on top. And like when we first released the developer version, like developer preview version of the libraries, I created a like shopping list kind of app that can actually like quickly get started, make people quickly get started with it. So recently, in like a couple of live streams and so on, I actually did a rewrite of the application on top of what I have. So today we will show you how you can create an application with authentication, storage, and REST API, and not REST API, GraphQL API. And I will share with you how you can use these libraries as well. So okay, can we share my screen, please? Thank you. Okay.
Thanks to the crew.
Thanks, crew.
Thanks to the crew. Thanks to the people behind the scenes. They are the real heroes. Anyway, so this is the app that you will be seeing, and the app is has a nice theming. Obviously, you can just log in, create an account. You can add an item like, for example, potato, 5 and 12. Like it's just the amount. Oh, nice, it's not working. So
You did say we're on the cutting edge, right? So
yeah.
And doing a live demo.
And it's a live demo.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
Nice. This is the version that
some,
it was working.
Some live debugging as well. It's all good.
Yeah, I'm really curious. Okay, first I want to show something working, then I can go back to something not working. Okay, so let me change the project because I came prepared.
Nice.
Okay, the second project that hopefully is going to work is so as I mentioned, Amplify has several libraries that we support, like authentication, storage, and the API side has like GraphQL and REST part of it, so you can use. One advantage of AWS Amplify is actually it is using the AWS technologies behind the scenes. So when we talk about storage, we are actually using S3 buckets behind the scenes. And when we talk about GraphQL API, we are using like app sync libraries behind the scenes, and for the REST API, we are using API gateway and so on. Basically, whatever you would be using to create these infrastructures. So in this example, what I'm hoping to show you is that uploading something to the S3 buckets and actually running machine learning on top of the image that we are going to be uploading and generating some machine learning stuff. I'm just going to say stuff because I will explain it over the data properly. Okay, so since we have everything here, this is perfect. I can still show you how things are working. So let me make the...
Yeah, a tiny bit bigger would probably be
Yeah, I
good.
was about to say, can you make it
Perfect.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's great.
so Amplify libraries are in different categories. For each category, you would add a new library. And for every category that you're going to be using, you need to have Amplify Flutter. This is the core library that we have that you are going to be using for configuring the other libraries. So if you want to mix and match the other stuff into one application, you will be using this. I will show you how you're going to be using this later on. The other library that we are going to be using today is called Amplify Auth Cognito. Cognito name can ring a bell for you, maybe. Cognito is the Cognito user pool from the AWS ecosystem. So the authentication mechanisms that we provide, they are actually using Cognito user pools behind the scenes. And you can see that like storage S3 is the one that we are going to be using for file upload because it is going to be using S3 buckets. Because one thing to keep in mind, let me pull this in really quickly. For all the other libraries that we have for the API and so on, you will be exactly following the same naming conventions. Like for the API, you will have this. But right now, we have a stable version and a pre-release version. Let me make this bigger as well. So if you would like to try this out, you need to use the pre-release version. What is the advantage of pre-release versions? They are actually supporting all the platforms that Flutter supports because of the Dart rewrite that we have. So let's go back to our example, and we can run the application. So this application has two sides. One of them is for authenticated people. The other one is for the guest users. So anyone can take advantage of whatever we have. I will share the source code with you later on. It's not something magical. So you can see that it is quite straightforward. You can just click on this and it will let you upload an image, and you can select the uploading mechanism and it will just show you the process.
Nice.
And once it is uploaded, we will be able to see it on our console. So let me run our console really quickly. So for running our console, you can write Amplify console. There are two ways to run the console for AWS Amplify. One of them is Amplify Studio. The other one is AWS Console. AWS Console is, like, in my opinion, this is for more like deep dive serverless people. What I would recommend is enabling Amplify Studio, which is the version that we will be using today as well. So it is loading right now. It is a website more or less looking like this. So you can check out the files that are uploaded here. You can, for example, probably it was this one. No, this one. Yeah, this one was the one that we have uploaded. It is my amazing picture from one of the talks that I did. So you can see that it is at somewhere. The reason that it is somewhere is that it is actually in the S3 bucket. It's actually in the cloud. So you can have control over your uploading mechanism. And if you do not know it, one advantage of using S3 buckets is that they do send the data partially. So whenever you're stuck at some point, you can continue, you can pause, and you can have full control over the data that you transferred. So how do we do the transfers? Let's go back to our Flutter project. You can see that it's super big it's like 100 lines. So one thing that you need to do for configuring Amplify applications, you need to add the plugins that you're going to be using by calling amplify.add_plugins. For adding the plugins, you need to create object instances of your libraries that you're going to be using and add them as plugins. And next, you need to configure the Amplify ecosystem by using the Amplify config that is created for you. This Amplify config is keeping the data about your application, for example, for the like servers that, like the regions that is coming from, or like servers that is using the region of this the region of the servers that it's using, from the pool IDs of Cognito user pool, the S3 bucket IDs, and how do they communicate as well. These are all generated for you. You are not going to touch anything at all. So all the guest access, all the other things that you need to do, they are generated for you.
And quick question, Salih, is that file okay to include in like source control on GitHub if someone is using Amplify? Should they check that file in, or should they keep it a secret?
I think we should keep it secret. I'm just sharing it because I know everyone is super honest.
Yeah.
And
You're not live in front of everyone.
We need to ignore this one, because like there are two ways to run the AWS projects, right? Like you can either be part of an organization and you can get a user assigned to you with the rights that are provided to you, or you can get like AWS access keys to, like create whatever you need as well. So all of these project related stuff, you can pull them in later on into your project. So there's no need to like commit these files into version control systems. At least I wouldn't see any value, but if you want to live dangerously, so be my guest.
Yeah, and they do have some secrets as well, like in that AWS configuration file, like the Amplify configuration.dart file does have some secrets as well that you would not want to commit into Git.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen people try to use this once, like after every live stream, obviously I clean up everything that I have, and people are sometimes like trying to use it, but it's not working. Anyway, so let's go back to our topic. So like we have like configure amplify function. The best way to use this function is like the earliest that you can call is the best way to go with it. So whatever you would do with any other libraries that you would be using, it's the same logic here. You need to configure the Amplify libraries before you use them. How you would or when you would use it, it's totally up to you or to decide. Just to keep in mind, if you do not do this before you use it, your app will cry out loud and say, why didn't you configure me? So like what I did here for making things more effective is just like before the run app, I just called this one. I didn't, like, as you can see, I didn't care if it's configured properly or like didn't block anything. Do not do this. It is just for the sake of demo. So how would you use this one? The Amplify libraries are giving you a chance to call a set of static functions per se to navigate you faster. So for a category that you're going to be using on the library side, you would most likely first write Amplify, then write the name of the category and use the functions that are provided to you with this category. So for like uploading file, I said Amplify storage and upload file. And I used the file picker library from Miguel Ruivo, I think his name was. I hope I'm remembering it right. So we are selecting any file that we would like to have, and good thing about like file picker is that you can just use it in any platform. It's not just like desktop, it's also working fine with web as well. And in here, I just get the path of the file and I define something called AWS file. This file can be generated by the path that we have selected of. It is basically an convenience class that we have to help you out to create files that is giving you a chance to easily transfer data. And one thing that I really like is that you have something called on progress, because as I mentioned earlier on, with the S3 buckets, when you upload a file, you do not do you don't have to do upload in the like one big chunk of array. It goes like in a stream of data, and you can see the percentage of file that has been transferred. With this callback, thanks to this callback, we were able to see the percentage sign that I had on screen. So you don't have to put it to this. You can, for example, create an animated like circular progress indicator, like
Mhm.
you need to create a circular progress indicator that is animated. I think this was double, so let's do. This is not state. This should be the percent. Okay, I changed the wrong one, so let me change this one. So like if I say circular progress indicator here, get rid of this one and say that to double and like remove this. We'll say
It's a name.
okay, it's
Yeah, I
a
think it
name
should be named,
parameter.
right?
So
Yep.
there we go. So like if I restart the application again and go back here and select another picture, like I don't know, it's really hard to pick a picture.
Don't you have many pictures of me?
No, I carry them as a tattoo on my back.
Oh,
But-
yeah,
boy.
that's true.
Okay, I will just put this one, this like, so you can see that like it quickly like went up because probably it was from 0 to 1, not from 0 to 100. So that is why this should have been just percentage and,
Just divide by 100 then, right?
or I can just get rid of this and,
Mhm.
you know, like do this and beautifully turn this double. There. Let's restart the application. So like, let me do this again. Let's upload another picture like this one. This is my favorite one. So you can see that like slowly it is getting up, but it's totally up to you. You can animate this, obviously. It's just, it says like, okay, you uploaded this one. And if I go back to here and like refresh my page and have a sip of coffee out of my amazing cup.
This is the third
Not
time you show
sponsored.
off this cup.
Yeah, because I want to annoy Jochum. Anyway, so you can see
Because
that
I don't have it.
Yeah, exactly. So you can see
Okay,
that
so
this
gloves
file
off
has
again,
been
right?
uploaded, and like this file has been uploaded as well. And the main thing that I want to show you about is that, as I mentioned, AWS Amplify is the tool that we created for front-end web and mobile developers to take advantage of the power of AWS. So this means that we have some stuff here that are coming with convenience functions, but there's a really important point here as well. This AWS actually comes with more functions that more functionality that you can use. The other one that you can use is Lambda functions. Lambda functions are the working blocks that you can use to automate some operations. And I did an automation over this as well. I did an automation of when I get a picture, I wanted to have an image recognition mechanism to show what might be inside it. So for that purpose, let's go to our AWS console. Really quickly, okay. I cannot obviously log in front of you, so.
I mean, you could. Nobody's watching. We're all honest people.
No,
We're
no,
all
no.
honest people.
No, 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 no. Okay, in the meantime, Abdallah, do you want to share some stuff?
I have a question, if it's okay, just regarding the file upload. So, does Amplify do things like maybe if I successfully upload like 50% of like a really big file and then the user loses connection and then regains connection later, will Amplify kind of help re-upload from where we left off, or does the developer have to do anything to handle those situations when using the Amplify SDK? Can you talk maybe a bit more about like handling those types of cases, especially for large file uploads?
Absolutely. So that's something that we're working on right now as part of our developer preview. So making sure that we're streamlining the experience for background uploads. That's one. And then the other thing as well that we have available is multi-part upload. So allowing you for big, larger files being able to use multi-part uploads just to make that experience even faster. And both of these things will continue to work with the in-progress indicator as well. So we'll be sharing more of those details about that more streamlined experience as part of our developer preview. I believe we're almost there in terms of putting it out in developer preview, but it will definitely be available once our libraries are generally available.
Mm-hmm. Awesome.
Our new Dart libraries. Yeah.
All right. It is just taking a couple of seconds. Like for improving the network speed to have a live stream, I need to chop off everything. Then for doing the demo, I needed to regain those accesses. They are so nice.
Security is the best.
Yeah, perks of doing live demos.
Yeah, you know, like this is the one that normally, for example, for a talk or something, I always have like a backup and so on. But like before this, I just tried out everything and I said, yeah, everything is working fine. Like what could go wrong? Famous last words. Anyway, so you can see that we have a JavaScript file here. I'm sure everyone will be happy to see JavaScript, but the thing is, so as I mentioned, we have lambdas. Lambdas are working with officially like Java, JavaScript, Golang, and maybe one more that I forget about. But you can also have custom runtimes. And one of the things that is actually cool is that a couple of years back, got runtime AWS lambdas. But AWS team actually created a custom runtime for that a couple of years back. You might be asking, why didn't you write this one then with this one then? The reason is that this project needs some love. So hopefully we can show some love out of it. But you can, with the custom runtimes, you can run your lambdas in any language that you want. Going back to our topic, I use JavaScript because JavaScript was the easiest one to go with here for me at least. What it does is when you create a function, it will tell you that once you receive an event, you will have the bucket and the key. The key is the file key that you will be using to get the data, fetch the data. And what I do here is that I use a library called Recognition. Recognition is the library from AWS to work on machine learning related stuff. It is, let me find the library. NPM Recognition, there you go. So this library has many features that you can use. It has face detection, label detection, text detection, and like many other stuff that you can use. So I said, okay, why don't I prove that any AWS stuff is working with AWS Amplify? So this way people can actually integrate AWS Amplify with their ongoing systems. So I said, okay, I am going to add the AWS recognition library by using NPM. And not here. Was it not here? Okay, it's not here. It's in the project. I will show you later on. And I said, okay, let's use the recognition library and detect the labels, meaning that detect the objects that are having the highest chance of using it to create a set of labels that I can use as a hashtag generator. So after I uploaded each image, let's go and check out the logs, because right now I'm logging whatever we have, and I will show you what I'm going to do next as well. All right, so if I check the latest one, like latest log that I have, you can see that like there's a 98% chance that there's flame. Let me open the image as well so it makes sense to you.
I didn't know it was using the flame engine.
Yeah, you know.
That's a really, really funny coincidence.
Yeah. So, okay. So it says like there's a flame. Obviously, yeah, there's a flame. And can you show me more? Nah, it doesn't. You know the picture. So we have, besides that, like fire, obviously, the competitor of flame engine. There's a sled of a person, there's a person, male, man, etc. Like you can see that there's a like confidence level as well. And like rule of thumb is like more than 90% is actually the one that is going to be usable for you. So right now what we did is we have used Amplify to upload an image and created our Lambda function out of the JavaScript and the recognition library, which is not part of the Flutter support right now. My PM can back me up on this one. And what I'm going to do next is I'm going to take this data and actually create another Lambda function to save it to GraphQL, like to my API. So this way, I will be able to serve this data as an application, like data application component to the users. So this way you can have, for example, not just only the labels, but you can, for example, create subtitles by using recognition, by uploading a video and getting it back. Or like I was talking to the guys about it, you can make an authentication system by checking out the faces, because face recognition is also working with recognition libraries. One thing to keep in mind, though, is that this is happening on the server side, not on device. So don't get disappointed when it doesn't work when you don't have internet. Okay.
So to recap, the user is going to upload a photo to store it to a storage bucket. Immediately, that will trigger the Lambda function that you wrote that uses the recognition client, and then you're going to basically upload the recognition labels somewhere that you can query them later from the Flutter application.
Exactly.
Is that a good summary?
Exactly. We already have support to query and subscribe ourselves. Like everything that is going around data, we already have support to. We did not have the support for the machine learning part, but why should we let our customers not use machine learning when they can? So that is why I wanted to like create a proof of concept kind of thing. Now, like I would recommend in the meantime, you guys go ahead. I will check out the project that it's not working, and we can circle back to me if you want.
Yeah, that sounds great.
All right, perfect.
Cool. So I think while Salih is debugging the other project, maybe Jochum, you want to give your demo this week?
Yeah, I suppose I can. Let me see if I can share my screen already. That would be splendid.
We are still seeing mine, so I'm
because I'm also not yet sharing my screen, by the way.
Don't worry, the crew is on top of it.
Yeah, we love the crew.
Come on, crew is the best.
Wait, no, let me stop sharing my screen. I'm really sorry. For my demo, I need to share the whole screen.
The crew is confused.
Yeah, the crew is confused. I'm sorry, crew. I'm
We're
so
not
sorry.
making this easy on the crew.
Okay. Some of you might know, I mean, people in this call might know, but the people watching might not know, is that I'm developing a testing tool, an end-to-end testing tool for Flutter called Flutium. And I haven't been able to sleep for 24 hours, and it now is completely done for a rewrite of the tool. And I would love to show what it now is capable of doing. So I have created this very good open Sourcery demo, which is created by the very good create command. So most of Felix and Renan might already know this whole structure. They might know how the app looks like. So for the people who don't know it, let me quickly just launch it. Why is it using Chrome? We don't want Chrome.
Firefox.
No, Chrome is fine. I forgot that our own template doesn't support.
We don't have Mac OS, right?
Mac OS.
You can quickly add it if you want.
Yeah,
I know, but
now does. I'm just saying.
Yeah, we're just way behind on supporting things properly. That's the problem. It's not me. It's the template. Yeah. So this is the template. You can up and down these fancy buttons, and there will be some text on the screen, like the number, how many you have counted. It's a really simple counter app using our standards. That's the app. And now I want to test this app. I want to not just do like the unit test or integration test. I want to test it as a user, like how the user would use this. And therefore, we have something that's called Flutium, which is what I've developed. So let's try to add Flutium. So there's a CLI that you can install. The new version hasn't been published yet. It's full disclaimer. This is completely on the edge, not even more on the edge than Amplify is with their pre-releases. This isn't even pre-released. This is coming this week, hopefully.
This is all on Jochum's machine.
It works locally. It works on my machine.
Yeah, if it wasn't,
we can initialize Flutium by using the init command. At least I hope. So we have initialized a new Flutium project, which created this flutium.yaml, which is kind of like a pubspec.yaml, where we have some environment information. So in this case, it's already pre-configured for the current version of Flutter. So anything within this range is supported. And apparently we can configure some different things related to a driver, which I will touch on in a bit. And we can also register custom actions, which I'll also touch on a bit. I will uncomment this one because there is no action called hello, and it would throw an error if I kept that in. That's still something I have to fix in my pull request, but that's beside the point. Now we have a Flutter.yaml file. We don't have a way to test it. This is just pure configuration. So I'm going to create a directory called floats. And then I'm going to say Flutter new flow. And we'll just call it my test flow. And we want to output it in the flows directory that I just created. This creates a completely new flow. Let me just hide away that button. Generate a new flow in this directory. So if I open it, we see here a very beautiful YAML file that just says my first Flutter flow and a single action. This is an action to tap on a certain location on the screen. So I closed the app. That's not smart. Let me just rebuild it. So what we now can do is basically write some YAML to say what the actions are of a user in our app. And then we can basically validate that certain things have happened without even writing any Dart code, without writing any test code or whatever. So in this case, we know that if the app starts up, we will have a title bar with a text counter. So we can just say, okay, expect visible counter. And then
Visible.
So expect visible counter. And we also expect visible a 0, because it's quite literally a 0 here massively on the screen. If I remove this tab on and this so now this is just all we're doing. We're just expecting two things. On startup, it should show the counter and it should the number 0. So I'm just gonna kill this now, and I'm just gonna do Flutter test, and I can now pass my test that I just wrote. And because I've generated this using our template, we have different main files, so we also have to pass
Target.
not entirely sure what we have to pass. Oh yeah, a target. So
yeah,
which is
and
nice.
probably flavor. Well, actually, you're running on web, so
We don't really need to, but for the sake of completion, let's also do a flavor, which is development.
Did you say completion?
For the sake of completion, yes.
Okay.
does this have completion?
No, it doesn't
Come
have
on, man.
completion yet.
Not yet.
Come on, man.
Not yet. So as you can see, it does a lot of things. It's retrieving devices, setting up tests, a lot of stuff. I'm not touching the keyboard, and it throws an error. Typical. Why does it what? Couldn't resolve the package. I'm
The
confused.
demo gods.
Yeah, it's really typical. Method not found run.
You and Salih really are best friends.
Yeah, we really are. Like,
Yeah, maybe you need a
Birds of a
timeout
feather.
like me as well.
Birds of a feather.
it worked
Yeah, it worked
an hour ago.
Hello, my best friend. I believe you.
It probably has something to do. One thing I could do is then just show.
Did you run it on Mac OS or Chrome before? Because maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Maybe
think.
you're running it
Yeah,
too.
you're right. I think it was because.
I thought he was about to blame block test package.
Yeah, it's because of block.
Rip it all out.
Yeah.
Add stateless.
The only difference that I did was I made sure that I reinstalled the CLI, so maybe the CLI currently has an error. That would be kind of ironic. But I added macOS, and as you can see, we now get an option to choose. So I'm going to choose
Nice.
macOS in the hope it works. This will not work because I added a flavor, and if you add a flavor to macOS, it might
Oh, that's
complain.
right.
But I'm just going to let it run its course. Yeah, because we specified a thing. So it does tell you, hey, something went wrong, etc. And this is because I added a flavor. So I'll
You
just
get
run it
good
without it.
Feedback. Nice.
macOS. So
Third
it
time's
better
a charm.
works now, because, you know, like...
The suspense.
It takes roughly 20 seconds to start up? No. Why is this... This is...
Okay,
this
well,
is
at
so
least-
annoying.
At least it's consistent. I mean, what we can
Yeah.
do is if you want to pull a Salih and like try to debug that.
Yeah, let's...
We can continue and then come back.
Yeah.
I mean,
I
just
like how
not
that's
make
an
it authentic,
I like how
you know,
is an expression now. It's Pua Sali.
Yeah, let's put it aside.
I'm proud of
because,
it. I'm proud of it.
I'm pretty sure it's a really simple mistake on my part, so...
This is what happens when you
Yeah.
stay up all night.
So I have a question, Jochum.
Yeah,
Like if you go to the my test flow YAML file,
Yes.
so, okay, this might be a very simple question, but like expect visible counter. So is counter basically a variable name that you have in your file,
Nope.
like in your entry point? Okay.
Because
So how-
yeah, this is what I mentioned. What I meant with testing like a user. When your user is running the app, it's not reading like as a machine where things are. It's using text on the screen, and if the user is using like a screen reader, it's using the accessibility tooling that Flutter provides, like semantic labels. And that's basically what Fluttium is built on top of. It's not testing using like, let's mock this and do this and do this. It's running your app as a normal like Flutter run. But it's these actions are basically accessing the semantic tree of your application to make sure that, hey, you say this should be visible, then it will try to check, okay, is it really like visible as text? Or is it visible as a label, like a semantic label? Or is it like a tooltip? It will look through these things that humans can see and read and find to test if your flow works as you expected.
That's super cool. So it's in a way, it's like
Did someone
accessibility
fall
first
down?
then.
Yeah, it's accessibility first. If your flow doesn't work, a user wouldn't be able to do it either. That's the idea. You're really testing as the user instead of as a programmer.
Which is nice, right? Because then anyone can write these tests, even if they have no idea how the app was built or they
mean,
don't know
If
Flutter
the
or
driver
anything.
works, that's...
If the driver works, of course, yeah.
That's really cool. I mean, you obviously blew Renan's mind. He flipped his table, it seems like. So
Yeah.
I mean, that isn't the first time, so...
This happens often.
Yeah.
quickly.
Damn gravity.
Cool. Okay, so I guess I can go next while Jochum tries to debug that on the fly. I'll be quick. I don't have a ton to demo. Let me share my screen. Let's do entire
Jesus,
screen.
what a mess here.
Yeah, our
What
demo
did you
is going-
drop?
Our demo is going
Aquarium or
amazingly.
something?
No, a counter, entire counter of drawers and stuff. Yeah.
Is it okay?
No.
Oh god. Oh my god.
At least
All
my
right.
camera is still running. My computer is still
Yeah.
running, so it's alright.
Carrying on. So for this week, I just wanted to quickly demo and talk about some updates to Mason. As some people probably know, I did a live stream with Craig, which we can share the link to if anyone's interested, where we kind of built a brick using Mason and showed the process of creating your own custom templates. So definitely, if anyone's interested, you can check that out after. But I wanted to talk about kind of some things that are in the works for Mason. So first, I think I want to give a shout out to a couple people who have PRs that we're going to try to get merged ASAP, including members of our team, Renan. So hopefully soon Mason will be able to support bundling multiple files thanks to Luan. That's one that I'm really looking forward to because that would make our scripts at VGV a lot easier to maintain. So that you can bundle with a glob and then basically have all of the relevant files bundled automatically for you just based on a glob. There's some bug fixes. I'll skip over this prompt list one. Renan has graciously opened a PR to add a publish to field so that you can customize publishing the bricks to different locations or making sure that your brick is private if you don't want it to be published anywhere, so that you don't accidentally publish it if it has some sensitive info or if it is something that you just want to keep internal. So this one is very close to being merged, just needs a PR review. So that one should be available very soon. some bug fixes, and I guess I'll circle back to the prompt list, which is still in draft, but the idea behind this one is to basically support free-form lists in Mason. So if you want users to be able to enter any number of values as a variable, let's say like maybe you're prompting for GitHub code owners and you want the user to be able to specify 0 to whatever, 100, like any number of code owners, you don't have to worry about parsing all of that and formatting it and making sure that there's the correct delimiter or whatever. Mason would handle that for you natively. So this is still in progress, but hopefully will be available soon. And the more exciting update is this proposal that's been around for a while that I still, disclaimer, need to update. That's on me. It's been a wild week so far, but basically we all kind of talked about this week to basically support extending templates from other templates. So I know this is something we've kind of talked about in the past, but the big picture idea is you could basically have like a Flutter template, but you don't have to repeat yourself and have the same iOS, Android platform code in your template, or you don't have to have a lot of like configuration information in your template repeated over and over and over again. You can kind of decompose a template into multiple templates. So for example, with this approach, there could be like a core Flutter template that just ships like Android, iOS, Mac OS, Linux platforms with like a lib with a main.dart and a pub spec, similar to what you're used to when you run Flutter create. And then people can build on top of that template, and they don't have to worry about maintaining copies of all of those files and keeping things in sync as Flutter evolves. You would basically just be able to extend, similar to like when you're composing a Docker container of multiple images or building on top of a base image. You can kind of think of it that way. So this is still like in very early stages, but I'm excited because I think we got to a really good spot talking about this as a team and really dug into the details of how this could work and edge cases. And we really, like I said, this is not fully up to date yet. I still need to go back and revise the proposal, but I think it's in a good spot to start working on very soon. So hopefully that will be something that is available in the near future as well. And the very last thing I wanted to demo is just some small updates to the Mason CLI that were recently released. So for this demo, I'm going to use the Very Good Core brick, which is just like our starter Flutter brick that Jochum mentioned as well, that he was running with Fluttium. And I'm going to kind of walk through just like some quick updates to Mason. So for everyone out there, the version that I'm currently on is dev number 45 of Mason CLI, and I'm going to globally install the Very Good Core. Very Good Core, and let me make my font a bit bigger in case people can't read it. And so basically the main updates are, obviously we updated a bunch of dependencies, so everything is updated to Flutter 3.7, not Flutter 3.7, Dart 219, and a bunch of dependency bumps, etc., like internal updates. But the cool external facing part is some cleanup when you run Mason make. So in this case, when I try to generate some code from the Very Good Core template and I just use all the defaults, you should see some new looking output. So it's a bit cleaner. Basically, the status of the files is shown first so that everything is aligned, and you can quickly see like what files are generated, newly created, what files were skipped, what files were modified, etc. Like it's really easier to see. Previously, this information was kind of tacked on at the very end. And then also all the paths are relative now instead of absolute paths, because that was kind of getting crazy to read previously. So it's a bit cleaner, but also for templates that generate a lot of files, if maybe you don't care about this output and maybe this stresses you out seeing everything that was generated, you can run, let me remove, actually it's fine. You can run the same command again that we just ran, not that command, and you can tack on the -- quiet flag, or you can do -q for short.
Oh. What happens to shut up?
Yeah, shut up is still being discussed.
Okay.
And basically Mason will do the exact same thing, but it won't give you the noisy output of all the files that were generated. It will just tell you how many files were generated, and you don't have to kind of have your terminal get overwhelmed with all the different things that were generated, especially for really, really large projects that maybe are generating like thousands of files. This could come in handy if you don't really care to see that output. So just some minor polish and presentation updates. Nothing crazy, but I'm more excited about some of the other things that are in the works. And that's kind of all I have to demo. So mine is a quick one this week.
No filthy logging anymore. We love it.
No filthy logging, yeah. And my demo succeeded.
Whoa,
I mean,
that's a flex.
I've got mine up and running as well. So.
Yeah,
Oh,
me
nice,
too.
nice.
That's not a
Nice.
that's not a specialty anymore.
So, Renan, do you want to go and then we circle back to?
No,
Salih
we
and
can go back to the things that are working now.
All right,
Okay, so
pressure's on.
yeah, all right. So let me restart it. Okay, so if
Not
this
only
doesn't
working,
work this
the
time
color
as
changed.
well. Sorry?
You just changed the color. That was the issue, right?
Yeah, that was the issue. No,
Material
no, no.
treating.
I will show you something. Yeah. So, whoa, oh my God, automatic
Ooh.
theming. Whoa,
Oh my
God. Yeah. Anyway, so
Don't try to
Wow.
distract us with dark mode, Salih.
yeah. So
Is it working?
Chicago is my favorite city. Anyway, so like I've like wrapped up the previous one, so like you will see how this works now right now. So we can add an item hopefully by saying, for example, phone, and I want to get a phone and let's say like 10,000, and yeah, because it's 10,000 liras, and probably it's less in euros. So you can have items that you bought in a list, and you can wrap up that like grocery by saying that, okay, super necessary stuff. Okay. But when you finalize a grocery, it will ask you to upload an invoice. So I created a super realistic invoice here, but you can literally pick anything, like again, my beautiful image from my conference. So once you do that, it is uploading the invoice. And once it is done uploading the invoice, then it is saving the grocery, and you can see that the current grocery or like current whatever. In Turkish, we have a perfect way of saying this, but English is not enough for that. Anyway, so you can see that like the super necessary stuff is here, and the image is also shown here as well. The good thing about the image here is that like we are creating a signed URL. So like we do not just save a URL somewhere, but we have a key of the file that is the key, whatever you want and wherever you want to save it. And it is saved with the authorization level or authorization type that you would like to have. It can be API key, it can be Cognito user pool, whatever you would like to have. So since the demo is working, I'm really happy. Let me show you how it works. All right, so as you might remember from another beautiful demo that I had, we had Amplify Flutter, Amplify Cognito, and we have another, and this is my favorite product, Abdallah. I will be honest with you. This is the best one that we have for me. This is, someone says no sound. I have sound, right? You hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. Because I did a live stream and I talked for an hour, and it was
That would be.
and
that would
people
be
tried to
terrible.
warn me, but I didn't check the chat as well. I was a horrible streamer that day. Anyway, so we have Amplify Authenticator. I will show you what it does. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. All the things that you have seen for the authentication, like sign in, the create account, or like forget password, everything that you see in here, I didn't write a single line of code for this. Okay, I wrote a single line of code for this. So I'm liar already. So how you can do it is like, when you would like to have this authentication flow controlled by us, controlled by the flow that you've seen, all you need to do is that you need to wrap your material app or like top level widget with authenticator. It is going to take care of the navigation. It is going to take care of keeping the reference to the current user and many other stuff. So for the sign-in stuff, I didn't do anything. And whenever I want, I can still go ahead and say amplify auth and try to get the current user in a point that I'm logged in as well. Why is it my favorite thing? I hate doing the same thing all the time when it basically does the bare minimum, or basically that it needs to do the bare minimum. So that is why this is my favorite. So for authentication flow, all you need to do is like Material app. And I actually made some videos at someone for this. I will do a shameless plug now. So I have a YouTube channel that I share videos about like Amplify related stuff for like front end, like Flutter, obviously. So you can just check it out, follow it along, and I have some tutorials over there that you can use to, like just. Why am I showing the ugly link? That is like I have a beautiful link as well. That's my mistake. I'm sorry.
That's your full username.
Yeah,
that's your full account name.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Backstage, it was my fault. Anyway, so for authentication, we were doing this. For the other stuff, like
I wanna just give a couple more shout outs to the authenticator, just because I agree with you, Salih. It's one of my favorite things about getting started with Amplify.
Yes.
With the authenticator, what's really great about it as well is not just username and password sign up, or email and password sign up works, but when you use the Amplify CLI to configure your authentication resource using Cognito, and you enable things like social sign-in. So if you enable, for example, sign in with Apple or Google or Amazon or Facebook, then those would also become options that are available for you through the authenticator, and you don't have to make any changes to your configuration to have that set up. That's one. The other thing is all of the
one thing that I would like to say is that in the YouTube channel you can find a video about it. So please continue.
and with the authenticator as well, what's really great is you have full control over customizing the flows of the authenticator themselves and the screens of the authenticator. So you can basically add information that you need, such as like a logo, for example, for your application. You can add additional links if you need to. You also, all of the authenticator, the default experience of the authenticator is built with material widgets. And what's really great about that is when you theme your application using your theme data, your material app, then that automatically gets applied to your authenticator as well. So with no configuration whatsoever, other than setting up the theme for your app, you also inherit the theme with the authenticator. So just wanted to call all of these things out because it really does, according to like a couple of surveys that we've done, it saves you at least like 2 weeks of development work just having to set up all of this yourself. So it's definitely a great way of getting started, and just like focusing on the core feature of your application.
Yeah, plus I don't know many people who like setting up authentication and account creation flows. That's probably like the most boring part of developing an app, in my opinion. So it's awesome that you can skip all that boring stuff and then get to the good stuff that makes your app unique.
Absolutely.
Also, like you can also use this for prototyping as well. Like whenever I do a live stream or something, like whenever I try to work on an app that is leveraging I'm about to die. That is like leveraging what it will be a nice live stream memory for
wait until the end of the live stream, please.
Okay, we don't want to leave any witnesses. Anyway, like you can just use it for prototyping as well. Like in here, what I did is like I just used the package from Mike Roots.
Yeah, Flex color scheme, right?
Exactly. And
shout out to him.
Shout out to Mike. And
Material
you can
Mike.
see that Material Mike. And you can see that like it actually helps a lot. And I just used the Google fonts to change the font to my favorite font. I can't believe that I'm saying that I have a favorite font, which is Railway. So cool. Anyway, so back to the actual topic that I wanted to talk about. So we have already seen how we can add a new like file to the S3 app. So I'm not going to show you that. What I'm going to show you is like two important things. So don't mind the red stuff. This is the first thing that I'm going to say.
Don't mind.
Don't mind all the errors.
Yeah, this is not an error. I don't have the proper GraphQL extension, so that's why it's not working. Anyway, so what we have here is that we have two models that we created. One of them is called grocery, which is the bigger object, and inside the grocery we have something called grocery items, which is the smaller objects inside it. And each like grocery has a title, the file key for the what was it called? Invoice, and the total amount, and so on. And grocery item has a name. There's a is bought property that I didn't add yet. I don't think it makes sense. I need to drop it. Anyway, there's a count and there's the amount as well. And you can see that each grocery item has a reference to the grocery ID. The good thing about this is, like, if you do not know GraphQL, the tool that I've shown you earlier on, the Amplify Studio, you can use that tool to create your data visually by going to sandbox.amplifyapp.com and create your data layer here by adding a model like, I don't know, grocery. I'm so creative, right? And I can add another one, grocery item. And you can add a relationship here between the data as well. For example, one grocery item can have like many groceries and vice versa. It's totally up to you. And once it is done, you can pull these items to your project later on. This is the cool side of it. So if you do not know like GraphQL, you don't have to. And another beauty of it, when you log in, because I can't see it right now, but when you log in, you should be able to see the GraphQL code as well that you can copy and paste, but you don't need to. You can just pull in this data to your app as well. Going back to here, I have a grocery and grocery item models here, but you might be asking, do I need to create the model classes of this? And I will say, of course not, because I am the king of the storytelling. So you need to do Amplify Code Gen models here. And there we go. This Amplify Code Gen models is going to go to your schema file, get those models, and create the Dart model files for you under models folder here. The naming is not the best, I agree, but it does everything that it's supposed to do inside it. And the model provider and all the providers that we have is helping us to actually work with the objects instead of creating our own objects, taking care of this, and so on and so forth. And what advantage does it bring to us? You can create a grocery item here, like you would create any item. You can create a model mutation. It can be update type, create type, delete type, whatever you want to have. So I said create with the item. And lastly, you need to write a mutation, run a mutation. You can run the mutation like I have explained earlier. Amplify API mutate, like the earlier on, we created a mutation type, it created and so on, and we just send the request. And when we get the request, we get the response. And if you have a response, then we return the response. Other way around, we save the data properly. So the model creation and saving it to our API is like only this amount of lines. The reason that I'm showing you this is that if you would like to make the app developers' lives easier so they can focus on their idea and actually create their applications with the tools that we provide. That's why, like, I can also tell you that all of these stuff are working fine on all the platforms that Flutter supports on the developer preview of the libraries that I have shown you earlier on with Amplify API, storage, Flutter. I don't know who put this package here, but anyway, there's someone.
You're not using stateless?
No, because I was having a bad day, so I said, okay, I'm not going to use stateless.
I get it.
Yeah. Anyway, so like that is all on my end. So you can see that this is also an open source project. It is on my GitHub. Let me share the link of it, actually. It also has the steps to run this application as well. I just shared the link with the backstage, and you can just follow it along, check out the project, and yeah, let me know if it works or not. And yeah, that's it for today from my end. Finally, demo gods forgiven me. 2 demos for
Redemption.
the price of 1.
It's because you used block, not stateless. That's why it went wrong initially.
Awesome.
I
I
mean,
guess, go ahead. Yeah.
Flooding?
Floodium?
Yeah, I
But
mean, I
it's
want
fine.
to say like that's a really cool way of setting that up. Quite easy as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Make,
I like
make
how it
Yeah.
was connected to block the helpers functions. They are for this demonstration only, right?
Yeah.
Sally?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Because I really like the syntax of like the run mutation things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
still to have some this kind of abstraction to the package too.
Yeah, the way that you would run is exactly like I described, like amplify the name of the library and the name of the function that you would call. The run
Mhm.
mutation was an idea from one of the engineers, so I need to give credit to Dylan from here. If you're watching, that was a great idea, Dylan. Like he wanted to take advantage of the library's like way of implementation in a way that we return errors properly. So that is why like it was a really great implementation in a way that we are running. If it's successful, there's nothing wrong. And we have a callback in the error with the error codes and so on.
Nice.
awesome stuff.
All right.
Should
now I
we
guess
do
with the-
questions? for
Yeah, I mean,
Amplify?
I think we're fielding questions organically. Marcus says Amplify stuff in Pure Dart makes me super excited. Looks awesome. So another fan of the Pure Dart updates to the Amplify SDK.
Yay.
And thanks, Marcus,
We're
for
all super excited.
tuning in. And
Ooh,
then
we
yeah,
have a
we have
question.
another question on the screen.
Yeah, if only I can get a dollar every time I hear this question.
I'm
So,
sure. Yeah, I was
I
gonna
was
say
going to tell the
you
same
probably
thing.
have nightmares about this question.
In what
Yeah,
term
no,
Amplify is better than Firebase?
This question
So-
runs around with a knife behind me in my dreams.
Oh my.
yeah, so I think the most AWS way of me answering this question is saying I think one of the really great things about what we do at Amplify Flutter and what's really exciting about what we have in Amplify Flutter is, first of all, the fact that we're going to be rewriting everything in Dart, which means we're going to be able to provide you with two things. The first one is we're going to allow you to be able to have support for building full stack applications using Dart across all of the platforms that Flutter supports. And this also puts us at a place that allows us to be able to stay up to date with Flutter as new platforms are introduced. So it allows us to more easily be able to expand to them. The other thing is, like, we're getting really, really close right now to, as I've mentioned before, to launching our Dart full Dart libraries, which will allow you to basically target the 6 platforms that Flutter supports right now, and also provide you with a consistent behavior across all of them, because we're no longer using method channels. You have like this extremely consistent experience. Like the way that the library behaves is going to be consistent regardless of the platform that you target, which is something that we're really, really excited about. But then on top of that, the great thing about Amplify is you're starting off with the basics of what you need in order for you to build up the use cases. But as Salih has mentioned previously, you're building everything that you need for your Flutter application on top of existing AWS services. So we're not building our own services. We're creating just a faster and easier way for you to be able to get started with them. But then once your use cases go beyond the basic simple use cases, you have the ability to extend beyond what we offer you from Amplify. So we have features such as extensibility, for example, that allow you to be able to configure your AWS resources even further than what Amplify configures for you by default using CDK. So you have the ability to use infrastructure as code and be able to set up all of the necessary changes you need for your infrastructure. And all of these changes get bundled up with your Amplify project. So then you have the ability, using our CI/CD pipeline, to be able to replicate that same exact environment in multiple different staging or production or dev environments. You can create environments for you to be able to keep these resources basically in sync, and create these environments for you to be able to promote features through the different the development lifecycle that you have internally. And then the other thing that's really great about Amplify is the fact that we have support for GraphQL, and the fact that we give you a typed experience when you're interacting with APIs, which I know Dartfrog, like, that's something that it touts a lot as well.
We love
and I really
Dart.
yeah, exactly. And that's something that we're definitely hearing a lot from developers is, I want to ideally be able to build everything that I need for my application with Dart. And that's where, like, the GraphQL and the whole concept of model generation that we have for the Dart models that you use is really powerful, because you literally go to a single file in your Amplify project called the GraphQL.schema file. You update it with your GraphQL schema, and then we take care of deploying all of the necessary infrastructure for you to set up that API, the GraphQL API endpoint for you. And then we also create the Dart models for you, and we expose them through the clients with model helpers. So that all of these things make your development cycle so much faster, so much more efficient. And all of the changes that you make to your infrastructure is all linked to CI/CD. So you have complete trackability and visibility into changes that are happening both on the front end and the back end, and you have full control, which is what's really, really great. And then if you don't like what or if you feel like what Amplify offers you, what Amplify offers is not enough for what you need, then you have the ability, again, with extensibility, to be able to pull in custom resources and be able to do additional things on top of existing AWS services. And what Salih has shown us today with the example on uploading a file to S3, and then there's a Lambda that's reading from the S3 bucket, and from there it's using the recognition library and creating labels. All of these are pieces of experiences that you can build yourself, all with Amplify. So that's, I would say, is some of our biggest differentiators, really.
Yeah, and like one thing I think that kind of ties nicely into what you just mentioned is we have a question about how can someone, like, what's the best place for someone who wants to get started with AWS and Flutter to go to? Is there any one particular place where you recommend folks head over to kind of get started? And yeah.
Absolutely. So I think whenever I get asked that question, it really depends on what type of developer you are. That's what I've noticed. Like, not everybody is the same. There are developers that are like, no, I like the idea of building a sample app. So I want to be able to go through a sample app so that I can understand exactly how the like basically the different pieces are actually structured in a real life application. Other developers are like, just take me to the documentation, I'll figure it out myself. So we have two places that I recommend folks to basically reach out, use to get ramped up to speed on what Amplify offers. We have a tutorial that I'm going to get the link for in a second, that walks you through a sample app, and our getting started tutorial as well on our documentation page is a great way for you to be able to also just get your initial setup for your project going, and then you can take it from there. Yeah, and Salih has definitely created a lot of videos to talk about how you can get started with building an Amplify app, and then how you can add things like the authenticator and add things like GraphQL to your application. So I'll start pasting some of these links in here.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Also, like we are working constantly on how we can give you the best experience on, like, with a series of videos that we can like show you and teach you, and we're using like some of the nice tools. Maybe you heard of it. It's called Mason, and to give you a chance to create easier and faster applications for like Amplify. I have a Mason called Amplify Starter for now. So you can check out, try out, and see how it works. And we are working on many other stuff, so I would recommend just stay tuned, and in the following months, especially after the like previous releases and so on, you will see that we have more stuff coming on as well. I wish I could tell, but we have talks, we have blog posts, we have videos coming up, so just stay tuned. And whatever social media or like whatever like professional networking platform that you're using, just try to follow us over there, and you will have the latest news for sure.
Awesome. So yeah, everyone basically just follow Salih and Abdallah for more updates, and we have some links in the comments. So yeah, thanks so much. That was super informative. I think that there's a lot of awesome stuff coming to Flutter for AWS Amplify. So.
Absolutely. And we are open source, like Salih mentioned, and our Flutter repo is a great way for you to stay updated on things that we release. We're actually planning on putting out a public roadmap as well to talk about some of our areas of focus. So that will allow you to be able to give us even more feedback about the things we're working on, be able to get more ideas from the community. And our Discord server is also very, very active. And we constantly have engineers on there helping folks out. So I'll also paste the link for both the repo and the Discord server.
Awesome.
Sweet.
Nice.
All right. Well, I know that we still have Jochum who needs to finish Floodium.
And I have to start.
And Renan still has to start.
Oh, is that mine? That's my screen.
Yeah.
I guess
Yes,
the
do you want to do yours
The
first?
crew really wants you to go, Renan.
Okay. Right. So I was not prepared. I thought Jochum was going to talk. So I'm gonna just present a little bit about this little thing that we are hinting. We hinted this. We talked a little bit about this on the first stream, like just for 30 seconds, and then we just had a hint about this too during Floodium's presentation. So it's all about CLI. So last year I worked a lot on CLIs, especially the very good CLI, and the very good CLI is like one of our biggest open source tools out there. And I thought I noticed that's one thing that we have when creating command line interfaces with Dart is it's not easy to use it. For example, I have this example command line, and it's structured as most CLIs made with Dart are. So, for example, I have a little command runner here, and I have commands. So serves some commands, some other command, and has a flag, and some command has a bunch of options and flags and stuff. So in result, we have this kind of runner. So we have let me see, on an example command runner, we have executable name is example CLI. So let me just clear this. Example CLI. We have our Dart thing and a representation with commands and options and flags are all here in the helps and stuff. But as I don't have, I think I removed completion from this. So if we start typing the start of the command, we have something on the operating system, not on the operating system, on the shell, that's called completion. In this case of ZSH here, I press tab, the shell knows all the executables I have in my path. In this case, example CLI was the only one that started with the thing I typed, so it completed. But after that, it doesn't know what to do, because essentially on our usage here, we would have something like some command, and then have our usage on commands and stuff. So if we have a very large command that's really tiring to type all the time, again and again and again. So what if we make the completion of the shell work for the internal structure of a command line? So this is why this package here exists, because if we change this for completion, command runner, oops, boom, 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 boom. Just completion command runner here, we are importing CLI completion, of course. This adds an infrastructure for us to get the completion, to hop on the completion system of the shell. So this works on ZSH and Bash. And now I have to activate again, run this once. And this, I think it should have. Let's see if my demonstration will work. It added these lines to my ZSHRC on the home. So if I search this or just open a new instance of the terminal, we will have completion work. So example CLI, tab, and we have tab working for the commands that I have declared in the Dart side of the thing. So options, we have a lot of options here. Some options, for example, I call this one discrete because it has defined sets of possible values. And there's also the one that I call continuous that can receive any type of string. So how this works here, so I just go for some command, discrete. If I press tab here, it will know that I can use these three values here. And also will know the help message of them. And we'll let the user to select the possible values with tab. And let's go for continuous again. Boom. Continuous can receive any type of string, so it goes for the default behavior of the shell, which in this case for ZSH is to show the files in the current level. But if we type anything here, it will know that we have already provided discrete and continuous, and will not suggest again unless it's a multi-option, which is in the case for multi-C and multi-D that are just like this previous option that we can pass like several times. So let's call multi-C, and again, multi-C, and this will be converted in the Dart side as a list. So this is basically how completion works. But since we have a limited time, I would go like deep diving on the source code. Do you think it's doable?
Yeah, I was just gonna. Well, one thing I think that we should call out is that basically all this is built on top of the args package, right? Package
Yes,
args.
exactly.
So as long as you're, go ahead.
Exactly. As long as you have a command runner structure and you provide commands, this creates like in the background creates a kind of a grammar in which your CLI will interpret from the user, and from that grammar we produce suggestions. So here, this whole thing here, this object here that we are adding options and flags and stuff, we are creating this kind of a DSL. It's a limited domain language for this CLI specifically. So in this way, our parser will know that given some situation and where the position of your cursor is, you have some possible inputs.
Awesome.
And it's as easy as just changing that code
It's just
on the
one
class.
line. Yeah,
So
yeah.
I quite literally do not have an excuse on why I haven't done that
it's
for
like,
Flutter.
how
That's
does
what I
Flutter
hear.
not have
But
completion?
one thing is, just so you know, it's like it's one line, but in an ideal scenario, if you're using like some kind of analytics, or you are using the update mechanism that you use on regular CLI, for example, it's important to fast track this command. So on run command, if you have lots of stuff that takes lots of time to run, it's nice to have this kind of a branch in the code that you just call completion and return and ignore everything else, because this is the commands that the shell will call your CLI when the user press tab. So if we have some kind of a routine here that has an output or checks on backends or checks on the internet, it will take some time for the suggestion to appear, and as in the completion command, every output is interpreted by the shell as a suggestion. You could have like a pollution in the suggestion. So this is just a minor hiccup that the user should go through, but that's mostly it. And works for shell, bash, but we are working on fish too. Bash, ZSH, and we're working on fish. Okay.
All shell.
Shell. Yeah, I mean, those names, shell, console.
Shell all the way.
Awesome stuff.
Thanks,
Yeah,
Hannah.
good
Was there
job,
anything else
good
you wanted to show, or
CLI completion.
CLI completion? Check it out on pub.dev.
Right.
We love CLIs today. We have the AWS Amplify CLI, the Mason CLI, the Floodium CLI. So
Is the Amplify CLI made with Dart?
One out of those
No,
three worked as expected, and the other two had technical difficulties.
Yep.
awesome.
No, Renan,
Well,
it's not made in Dart. The CLI.
Oh, okay. I'm just gonna put like,
maybe one day.
yeah, we should migrate.
Maybe one day.
I mean, for me today, Dart is my language of choice for making CLIs.
Yeah, it is really nice.
I
You can
can't
build a
imagine
pretty
making
complex CLI really quickly. Yeah.
See, Mason CLI.
Jochum, do you think you have time to
I mean,
squeeze in?
For the basics of it, I can easily do that. Yeah. That's
If
because
the
I got
crew will
everything up and
allow it.
running, sort of.
Nice.
So I'm not going to show the example that I just showed. I'm just going to show the example from Flodium because that one works for some reason. So I'm not entirely sure why the generated one didn't work. I'll have to look into that. But this is basically the same sort of example, except that this one has a bit more different options. But it just has a counter which is exactly the same counter as the one that we already saw, but then sort of simplified into this example. We still have this Flodium YAML. The only thing that has changed is we have now a custom action, so I can also quite easily show that. And we already have predefined flows. So let me first just show you how it works. The one thing that didn't work, hopefully works now, which is running a specific flow. So in this case, I'm going to run the counter flow, and I'll open it while it's doing that. So let me just do it like this. Whoa. So the counter flow has a lot of different things already. So it does the expect visible, the expect visible of 0 and the counter, but it is also able to tap on things. And it will be able to tap on the increment and the decrement buttons that we already saw before. So if all goes to plan, you can see here it's running. And as you can see here in the background, let me just open this. Oh, my mouse decided to stop for a second. Oh, my mouse is really struggling right now. I don't know why. Is this battery dead? That would be so funny. So, okay. So this is basically it. And as you might have caught it, the window was partially in front of it, but it basically goes through all of these steps and updates them when they have been executed and when they have succeeded or failed. So let's say this increment we expect visible 2 because we only pressed it once. Let's say it should be 3. This is what I thought it would be. So if we run it again, and Flodium supports a watch mode, so you can just pass --watch, and you can then just change your flow file and it will auto reload. You can change Dart files and it will auto restart the flow, allowing you to just develop your flows while also changing things if necessary. So as you can see here, expect visible 3, it's still waiting. It has a certain timeout, which is configurable as well. In this case, I think it's like 10 seconds. It failed, and therefore it shows that in the output. It failed on the expect visible 3 because it quite literally wasn't shown. And like even the exit code of this is a non-zero exit code as according to the Unix standards, meaning it exited with a temporary failure because this is user or developer based changes. So if you change it could succeed. Therefore it's a temporary failure. So that's how a flow works. It's a really simple YAML. It's just executing these lines. Underwater, it does a lot of stuff to generate this. And out of the box, we have this step on, expect visible. We can even take screenshots. So if you look at this one, it's able to just take screenshots and save them in a screenshots directory, which will later be configurable. But we can do a lot more with this. This is all the default stuff, but we also have this expect environment text, which is something really specific to this app. This app, when it starts, its main page in the top, at the top, it basically says on what environment it is running. So if we look at the app code here, we basically have an app bar with a title that says environment and then an environment depending on how it ran from which main one. So this one sets it as development, this one sets it as production, this one as staging, and this one as none. And we want to test that text is always visible. So we could obviously write it as an expect visible with a regex. Flodium supports regexes as values if you want that on certain actions. But what we also can do is create our own custom action. So I already have created that for this example. So we can just add an exception, and that action can then be pod-based, Git-based, but it can also be from PubDev because an action is just another Dart package. So you literally write Dart code and you implement this execute method to do whatever your action has to do. So if you want, you can create really complex actions in Dart code and then just reference them quite simply in your flow for reusability. And that way you have the power of Dart for testing, while the people writing the flows don't even need to know how all of that works. So, you don't want them to know how regexes work because that's too difficult? Well, you can just pass a regex syntax to the expect visible, which is literally the action that we already were using, which is an action on its own as a class, so it's the whole implementation here. And you can also pass parameters to this action, so it has this register method, where you can register an action, you pass its constructor, and then on top of that you can pass a shorthand. So in this case there is no real shorthand, but the expect visible has one, so let me quickly open that one. It has this required this.text, which has to be a string, and an optional timeout. And then basically what we could do, if we want to do, because we saw that the flow was taking quite long when we had it as where is it? This one. So when we had it as 3, it took quite long for it to resolve. So we can also just do, okay, the text is 3 and the timeout, which I believe, I'm gonna check it, is in milliseconds, should just be 500. This should be indented one more. So if we run it now, theoretically,
theoretically it will.
Theoretically, that's always the case. Oh, why didn't I start this up?
Theoretically, now we listen to music.
No, I'm just vibing here, you know.
Yeah.
Sorry, what did you say? I could not hear you. The music is too loud.
Yeah.
So now it will start up the runner, and it should feel much faster because the timeout is set much lower. So that's
Whoa,
just
so
here.
fast.
It failed compiling again. This is the issue that I was having on the other thing. It's for some reason it's complaining that it can't properly get these parameters, which I had in the other example prepared. I know what the issue is, and I don't. If the second run doesn't work, just believe me that this works.
Okay.
That's the best way to tell about the
It's
demo.
in development.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah.
We do
Yeah,
believe you, Jochum.
I mean, this rewrite took me 4 months to complete, so it's bound to have some issues, right? Like,
Of course.
yeah. It gave up on me, but we can basically pass custom parameters to our actions, and we can define custom actions if we wanted to, and all of that stuff. So it's really flexible, while still having a really simple front-facing syntax for people to use.
And can custom actions import other custom actions?
Yes, so because it's completely its own package, like it has a popspec.yaml, so it by default has a Flutter dependency because it has to define extends this action stuff. So this action.dart has to exist. That's the only requirement for this package. It has to have an action.dart. Internally it will use that, which needs this register method. It doesn't, like I could move this class into its own thing and import it, but it needs an action.dart with this method, which in hindsight it doesn't make sense, but that's what I decided to do. And you can just add dependencies. Like if you want to have something, like upload some data to AWS, for instance, while running this,
like
you
upload
could
your
just do it.
screenshots.
Yeah, for instance, you can just upload it to an S3 storage if you wanted to, because this is running within the Flutter context, so it has like anything that works on Flutter will work within your action. So that's the whole, like it's not Dart only, it is really focused on Flutter. So you have the full access to whatever you want. Like we can even access the repaint boundary, for instance, if you want to do custom screenshots, and then you can like get the data out of there for screenshot information or whatever. So that's Flutium sort of working.
Yeah, coming
Nice.
soon, right?
Like it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I think we're a little bit over time, but at least we managed to make it through all of the demos. So it was a lot of fun, a lot of really cool stuff. That
5 out of 5.
Yeah, 5 out of 5, and it was super awesome having both Salih and Abdallah on the stream. I think that if anyone has AWS Amplify questions, now you know who to go to. There's no excuse not to try Amplify in your next Flutter project or in your in any like side projects that you're working on. Yeah, does anyone have any closing thoughts, comments?
Yeah, like thank you very much for having us. It was like it's always great to like talk to the Flutter community, but making a live stream with all of you is making things even better for me. So thank you very much for the invitation.
Yeah, anytime. It was super awesome.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you. This
Joining.
was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I have to do more then.
I mean, you didn't have to do a demo, Abdallah, so yeah, I get it.
Abdallah,
For
could
you, it
just-
was fun to
yeah,
watch us suffer.
comment on Salih.
I get to just sit on the side and just judge you for all of your failures.
That was a lot today. So
It's okay. That's what makes it fun. So
Nice.
it's not fun unless you do a live demo with cutting edge stuff. So, and that's what this is all about. So
Yes.
thanks again,
Absolutely.
everyone, for joining. Yeah, everyone who's watching, thanks for tuning in. And if you have more questions, you can reach out to us on Twitter or Discord. Stay tuned for the next Open Sourcery episode.
Number 3.
Number 3.
Number-
Number 3.
It's 2, Felix.
I was saying peace.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. But I mean,